known that voter turnout is lower among people that grow up in families from a low socioeconomic status compared with people that are part of a high status family. And as we know, political participation is the mean to communicate concerns and be part of a public policy. So this gap in political participation between socioeconomic levels is concerning. And that's why today Andrea, Carolina, and me, Nicole, will share with you a summary of our chosen paper called Enhancing Electoral Equality: Can Education Compensate for Family Background Differences in Voting Participation, written by Karl, Sven, and Mikael. The paper explains that parents influence their kids' future policy activity by passing on socioeconomic status and teaching them to be politically active or not. And education is said to operate as a proxy for pre-adult experiences and the consequential predispositions. But one problem here is that education doesn't have the same effect in every socioeconomic status. So this paper's question is whether economic reforms can help enhance electoral equality and this way to reduce the gap I mentioned previously. To solve this question, a suitable test case was studied. In Sweden, there was a major reform in the beginning of the 1990s, and this reform consisted of elongating vocational training programs to 3 years, the same time as an academic program, and also theoretical content and social sciences were added into both programs. This was implemented in different municipalities.
In this paper, the authors are modeling heterogeneity effect. In the first regression, they studied the impact in socioeconomic status. They use a split sample design to know the effect of two groups, high and low socioeconomic status homes. The first model would lead to an unbiased estimate of the causal effect of completing an extra year of upper secondary schooling using OLS. But this is not likely the case because many of these factors are difficult or impossible to observe and measure correctly. The second regression is to solve this problem. They use the exogenous variation in the length of training programs according to the pilot scheme to evaluate the reform. Any reform effect that reduces inequality may be driven by a resource or a return effect or both. So the third and fourth regression are to decompose the overall reform effect in these two pathways. Data. They use the data for many administrative registers from Statistical Sweden to construct the sample and to acquire information on socioeconomic and demographic variables. Also to link these individuals with their parents and to match them with the administrative registers to know educational attainment, income, occupational status, and other demographic and socioeconomic characteristics. The original sample consists of all individuals born in Sweden between 1970 and 1974. For most analyses, their attention is to individuals who completed mandatory schooling at the age of 16 and who thereafter continue directly to upper secondary school. To construct a pilot scheme of the reform indicator for each individual, they use information on students' municipality of residence when attending the last year of mandatory school with information of vocational training programs across municipalities. For the dependent variable, they collected population data on voter turnout in the 2010 general election.
The results show that students with a higher socioeconomic status usually don't pursue vocational studies, so they were less likely to be affected by the reform. On the other hand, within the students that were most affected by the reform, which usually have a lower socioeconomic status, there was a higher voter turnout within those completing 3 years vocational programs than amongst those completing 2-year programs. This means that having a longer study period might equalize voter turnout among people with a lower socioeconomic background. It also suggests that education might act as a substitute for family background when it comes to civic education, which affects political participation. To prove the robustness of these results, the authors did a series of important checks and controls. One important check they did is that to test if there were any pre-reform or post-reform trends in the data that could have affected the students' political turnout, the authors widened the years studied in the sample. They found no statistically significant data that points to any pre-reform or post-reform trends. In conclusion, by investigating the effect of education and voter turnout across different family backgrounds, this paper adds empirical proof to a long-standing theory amongst academics that improving educational opportunities is a factor that narrows the political opportunity gap. This shows the crucial importance of developing well-done educational programs that target these gaps, which hopefully contribute to building more legitimate and strong democratic institutions across the world.